Hi there, this is Eric Meyer from Instructor Summit, and today we're at Grattan Raceway. We're going to teach some beginner entry-level information on learning data. And data is typically learned, I feel, in 5 different areas, and there are 5 components. And one of them is the speed channel, which is noted right here. This is, guys, this is we call this squiggly lines. It's a graph. It's if you're brand new to data, and this is what this video is geared for, you might have thought data looks something like this, and you're overwhelmed, and it's like, man, I don't know what's going on. Well, I'm going to show you uh, what this is all about, and we're going to break it down into some a little 30-minute module in just a couple things. And one of those things is a speed trace and a track map. There are 5 things total. That's 40% of what we're going to talk about today. So speed trace and track map. And then we're also going to talk about 3 other things. And that is longitudinal, which is fore and aft, lateral, which is side to side. And this thing over here, that's the friction circle. Sometimes people see it as a really big circle in a car. Might look something like this, right? A big old circle like this where the little dot's moving around, right? It might have a bigger circle, that secondary circle that goes around it. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But for the most part, we're going to spend time right here on the speed trace, because the speed trace is about 50% of the information that you need. It is the sum, it is the product, it is the output of what your hands and feet do, right? So it's what your hands do effectively, what your feet do effectively. Put those together, and ideally you have a speed trace uh, the higher the speed trace is, the higher the average, the lower the lap time. So if we can take well, we're going to talk about that. So let's start right now by really talking about this whole graph thing right here. Sometimes it's called a trace, this whole area right here in between this flashlight I'm sharing. By the way, this is the Track Attack software. It's absolutely wonderful. It's easy to learn. It accepts an AIM data file, a Apex Pro data file, a Harry's Lap Timer file, Motec file, and a bunch of others as well. It's easy to use. You can start with it for free. It's Windows and Mac based. It's a great product, and I really like to do these videos using it because it's sort of a it's not so much an industry standard, but it's really easy to share data. For example, you could share me data. You could share data with me, and I can review it for you, and do a little video like we've done here with my friend Adam Roberts, who I asked him if he had any Grattan data, and he said sure, and he sent this to me. Look at he split. It's almost like social a social sharing feature. Okay, let's get going. This graph or this trace or this box right here has 2 axes. This is axis, it's vertical, and this is horizontal. And the industry standard for this is the horizontal axis is in distance, with 0 being here and an increasing number here. So here we have 9,000 feet, and I want you to look over here on this track map, and this is going to be start and finish. And this start and finish right here, going this direction, you're obviously familiar with Grattan. This right here is going to equate to 0 right here. And as we come all the way around and zip down through here, come all the way here, that's going to be right here. And we're going to end right here at about, I don't know, 9,500 feet, give or take, right? Just making sense? So I want you to keep your eye over here, and I'm going to move this blue cursor, and we can see it move around. And as I move the cursor to the left to 0, you can see that's the start line. And then move it over here, and that's the finish line. So this basically represents 1 lap. And that 1 lap just happens to be right here. We can pick another one and another one, right? Or you can pick multiple laps, but we're not going to get into that. We're just going to pick one. In this case, I'm picking this one right here that is bold. That is the best lap, and Track Attack makes that bold. So here we go. We got, this is the x-axis, the horizontal, with 0 here and the start here and the end here. This right here for the speed trace is the unit of measure, mile per hour, with up here being higher and down here being lower. In this case, it's starting at 40 miles an hour. And it looks like Adam is able to get 120 miles an hour on this part of the track. And if this part of the track is start and finish, this is all the way up to its first braking zone. Kindly look over here somewhere. You ready? Kindly look over here to the track map. And I'm going to put the cursor there, right there. That's where he starts braking. You see that little marker right there? It's going to be in and around right here. That's where he starts braking. And that braking is right here. Now, I know this might be simple for some of you, but believe it or not, there's a lot of folks, and this is brand new, and this is overwhelming. And the purpose of this video is to reduce some of that anxiety, some of that stress. And it's just to talk about these 5 components, right? And the 5 components are speed, which is about really 50% of what you need to know. This longitudinal, and this is what your feet are doing. This lateral, which is what your hands are doing. There's 3, right? 1, oops, excuse me. Got some goofy software things here. 1, 2, 3. This track map 4. And this XY plot 5 that we'll talk about. Just a little bit XY plot or GG plot. All of this information I'm sharing right now, once you have a little bit of beginner mastery, you can become a certified beginner in a series of exams that I have that test your proficiency of the foundation, of the basics. And from there, you can move on and start interpreting data and then go, okay, now I know what it says. What do I do with that? What's my action item on track? Perhaps you're an instructor and you're advising a newer or less skilled driver. So that's intermediate. So this is beginner's foundation. In other words, what the heck am I looking at? So I'm going to get a little bit of redundancy as we do this here. By the way, this is a neat little feature over here. You can see that if you're familiar with Grattan, right? And you can spin this map around and zoom in and all that stuff. Highly encourage you to check out this software. It's trackattack.io. I'll put a link in the bottom of this YouTube video. It's a real neat little product. So what do we have here? We have the y-axis. I always say it's y, it's in the sky. We have the x-axis, which is the horizontal axis. And it's almost always distance. You can put it in time, but a lot of people don't do that. So 99% of the time in what you're doing, it's distance. We have over here at 0 is the start part, right, going this way. And all the way over here is the end part of the lap, right, where we're coming around here and we're getting the checkered flag. So start of the lap, end of the lap. And if we want different laps, right, we can highlight them over here. Again, we're just going to do one at a time. Reading this graph again, we can see that the maximum speed that Adam gets is approximately 120 miles an hour. And we can see that this is about, what? Just 10-15% into the beginning of the track, right? So that's the first 10 or 15% here. We can also see, and a lot of people are intimidated by all these, right? Because there's so many of them, and a lot of people say, I have no idea where I'm at on the track. So what I like to do is I like to try to demystify this by um, by helping you see some things. And the first thing is the straightaway. Um, a straightaway is noted by, and a long straightaway is noted by a high top speed. Right? Does that make sense? Think about some of the tracks you go to. Big straightaway has the tallest or the highest speed. We know automatically that this is going to be on a straightaway. And we know that this from the previous lap and all the way up here, and that jumps over here, and it finishes, it goes over start finish line, and then we go into braking. So you should sort of easily put two and two together, and if you don't, I'll go slow, that this slowest corner on the track, about 3/4 or 80% of the way through the lap that goes to the long straight is right here, right? Because that's what it's doing. Do, 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 right? Into the brake zone. Does that make sense? So automatically you can go, where's the biggest straight? Oh yeah, there's the slowest corner and it leads to the biggest straight. Oh yeah, that's right here. Okay? The other thing you can do, process of elimination, is that you know that as we, and the track goes this way if you're new to Grattan, that somewhere in here we're braking, right? And we're slowing down and it's a turn. And then we're going to accelerate. That's what this is right here. Guys, all these are turns and really even apexes. So that's one, excuse me, software issue. So this is turn one, right? And turn two, right? Turn three, right? Is this making sense? Think about that. You're going to come down through here. You're going to brake. There's apex in here. We're going to accelerate. That was turn one. We're going to brake. There's turn two. We're going to accelerate. We're going to brake. There's turn three, right? Turn four. These things become a little harder to see because they come a little squiggly-ish, so it's harder to see. But that's okay. But all you need to know is there's the first one, there's the second one, and there's the third one, right? And we're already a third of the way through the lap. Plus, we already know what this is, right? This is the end of the lap that we just talked about, right? That slow corner right here, and it's slow because it's what looks about 40 some miles an hour, right? That's down in here. So we know this part of the track, and we know all the way to here. This is the only part we don't know. And what we do know is there's two straights. There's a slower right. All we got to do is figure out what that is. Does that make sense? And we know it's somewhere in the middle of the track with this squiggly deal, right? And some squiggly squigglies right here. And if these are a little intimidating for you, that's okay because they are to everybody else. So all we're doing is kind of a process of elimination to go, hey man, where are we at and where the heck are we, right? What's going on? So let's, just for fun, let's look in here a little bit and here. And we're going to put the cursors, actually let's do this as well. We're going to look right from here to here. Okay? This kind of, let's call it an M. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cursor right here and say, oh, okay. Now you're looking over at the track map right over here. I want you to look over here and right here, okay? So I'm going to put the cursor right here, and I want you to look right here. And I'm going to move it all the way down to here, okay? Just kind of through these squigglies. Actually, I'm going to move it all the way down to here because we already know that right there is right here, okay? We're going to go through this M. We're going to start right here. We're going to go through this crazy stuff. We're going to go up, coming down right here, and we know that right here is right here. You ready? Here we go. Okay, see that? And we're going to accelerate, right? And we're accelerating, and we're accelerating, and accelerating. We're going to brake right here. We're going to brake, 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 and brake. You can see a turn right there over on the track map. We're going to punch it a little bit here on the speed trace because it's going up, right? You can see that right there. It's going to go up, right? It's going to come down. There's a little bit of gas, more brake, gas, brake. You see that? So let's walk through that. So we got brake, 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 brake. A little bit of gas. Brake, 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 brake. A little bit of gas. Brake, brake, brake. Almost the slowest part on the track. Gas, gas, gas. Brake, brake, brake. That would be another apex, right? We said that these troughs right here, right? We said that these were apexes, right? Apex right here. We're going to go look at the track map over here. Once you look at the track map on the right, apex. Now look over to the left on the speed graph, apex. Apex. Look at both, please, the track map and the speed graph. Apex, right? You see that? It's top of the brake zone. Apex, right? Apex, apex, apex. Accelerate. Apex, right? And some squigglies that go through here. So that's what I want you to have as a takeaway, right? Now you're looking at this, and if Grattan's your home track, you're like, dude, this totally makes sense. I know what's going on. And if you want to have some fun doing this, check this out. Where's the hump a jump at, right? Well, look at this channel right here, altitude. I'm going to put altitude on here. Check this out. See that altitude bump right there? Woohoo! Right? We're at 880 elevation. What do you think's happening right here, right? Woohoo! 836 to, it's like about 4 feet. And then down here to 39, golly, a 12-foot drop, give or take, all the way down to that next corner, minimum speed. So a neat little thing, altitude. There's some bunch of other crazy stuff on here too, is recording, but we're not going to get into that. We're going to get into this one, which is about 50% of what you need to know your first year playing around with this and using this track map. Track map, speed trace. Okay, I'm going to add one more. The next most important one is right here, longitudinal, and it's GPS-based longitudinal. Boom, here we go. Okay, we got our X, right? Same one, same distance, start and finish, 9,000 feet, right? Got speed right here, but now over here we have a new measurement, and that's this little guy right here, and that's G's. So this is a G-force scale with right here being 0. Okay, above here is positive, and below here is negative, and we can see that by here, all these little negative guys, right? Positive, which is acceleration, by the way, and negative, which is decel. Let's say that another way. These guys up here are accelerating above that line, and these are decelerating. Okay? Now, let's look at this a little bit. Why does the bottom half have so much more value? Right? Look, it goes all the way to the -1 right here. Right? From here to here is -1. But up here only goes to, what is that, about -2.5? Well, if you answered this car can brake harder than it can accelerate, you'd be correct. And that's pretty much true with every car that I've ever run across. Unless, actually, that's true with every car I've ever run across. So we can see right here, there's a lot of G's being generated, negative G's. This correlates right to here. All right. Is that making sense? And that's the big braking zone that Adam is using. And then also right here, which we know as, right, what's that right there? Put 2 and 2 together, right? Let's turn 1, right? Here we are coming off that slow effort, going by start finish, coming into coming down the front straight, right? 120 miles an hour, boom. That is this right here. That is negative longitudinal G's. Guys, all you got to remember is that longitudinal G's are your feet. And I wish my software was working, I apologize. Is your feet. We're going to do hands in a little bit. They're lateral, but these two channels, this one, and this thing, that's like 90% of learning data. And you got to learn this too. You got to learn that this is distance, and this is some kind of value. In this case, G in mile per hour. And if we stuck something wacky on here like RPM, let's see if these guys RPM. Yeah, see, now this would be RPM values, right? Right, see that? So these are the values, and these are where they're located on the track, right? This is about halfway on the track. This is the start. This is the finish. Making sense? Start, finish, and then halfway is somewhere in here, give or take. Well, let's find out what is halfway. Should be around in right in about here. So there's about halfway right there. Okay. I'm going to take off this crazy RPM. And there's other jazz on here, which is there's battery voltage, right? There's all kinds of stuff, but we're only concerned with speed, 5 things, longitudinal, and these two are like, plus this one, track map, are like 90% of what you're going to look at. 90%. Just got to know this thing right here. And you can get this from Harry's, from Apex Pro, from AIM, from Motec, from Racekeeper, just about anything. This is it. You got to learn this. This is the foundation. We're going to add 2 more, but these 2 more are more fringe. They're important, but they're not as important because you won't use them as much. Here we go. It's this one right here. It's GPS generated lateral. Okay, didn't change anything, right? Steer 0 right here. Still finish over here. There's our big straight, right? There's our turn 1 brake, right? Same stuff. Here's the big braking right here, right? With the negative G's, negative longitudinal G's that relate to right here. Here's this other negative longitudinal G's, right? Longitudinal G's below the line equals braking. And that correlates to right here. It's going down, right? Speed's going down. Speed's going from, what is that, about 100 down here to about 45, right? That braking right there. This is your feet. This is your hands. Pretty simple, huh? We're like almost done with this stuff. Hands, feet underneath there for longitudinal. By the way, once you get some mastery of this, you got a wonderful exam that gets you a beginner data certification. It says, hey, I know all this stuff. It's a quiz and it's an exam. It's open book. It's 50 questions. It tests your knowledge. And to be honest with you, if you can pass it at 85% or better, you got this stuff. And this is what we're doing right here. Okay, lateral. This is steering. I want you to think, when I said earlier your hands, I want you to think and understand this is in steering, okay? So let's take a look back down here. I like referring to all 3 of these. Remember how I was doing this, and I was doing this, right? And I was saying, hey, that's over here, right? Coming into here. And we said that this right here, this coming onto the front straight, right? So we're going to do that up here with lateral. If this is the hands, and this is 0, that looks like it's right here, right? What are your hands doing right here? Well, the car's going straight, right? We're right here. We're both driving straight and braking in a straight line. That's what that is. Look over the track map. See that right there? You see that? When this value is straight, like this here coming onto the front straight, that means the wheel is at 12 o'clock, right? And that means that these other values are lateral loads. And the center of these, I want you to look at the track map over here. Track map, lat trace. Track map, lat trace. Ready? Look at the track map and look at the lat trace. Right? Now look at the track map and look at the lat trace. See how we're on the center of the corners? Now what about down in here? See that? That big peak, we're getting those positive or negative longitudinal G's, is pretty much at or near the apex. Right? See this one right here, and then right here, and right here. Again, I'm going from track map to this graph right here. I'm going from here to here. When I say track map, look over here. When I say lat trace, look over here. Ready? Track map, lat trace. See that? Look at Adam. He's getting freaking massive G's in this. This guy's a really fast driver. This is a big sweeper, right? Big sweeper, less lateral G's, right? There's a big one right here. This is pretty interesting. You see this right here? That equates to where we start picking up speed, which equates to where we start picking up speed. Remember, above this line, this is feet. Above this line, we can say that we're on the throttle, and below this line, we can say that we're on the brakes. So all this stuff right here is on the brakes. All this stuff above here, we're on the throttle. Have I lost you yet? If so, watch this video again. But here's what we're doing, right? I'm going to hold this line right here. Look on the bottom at the speed trace. We're at the 44.3 miles an hour. Look at the track map. We're at the apex. Look at the very top lateral acceleration, 1.22. We're almost at apex, right about right there, just not far from it, right? And if we look at the middle longitudinal, right about there is where this car is going to throttle. Do you see that? That's right here. This is where we're going to throttle, right? Which correlates to, oops, let me try that again. Right here, this point correlates to right here. And that's where the speed straight starts going up, right? Let's find another one, about right here. All right? So that's an apex, as noted by this low guy, as noted by right here, where now they're either braking or accelerating, as noted by right here, where there's a lot of lateral G's. And in this case, we are right over here. See that? Is equal to that, is equal to that, is equal to that. Okay, here we go. Turn one, excuse me, braking for turn one. There's turn one, right? There's where we're coming off the brakes. This is where we're going to throttle. We're going to go into brakes. We're going to go into throttle. Go into brakes. Making sense? Now I want to show you something because a lot of people get this goofed up. By the way, we're 80% done. If we just look at this right here, let's do the 100% done. I'm going to highlight all these things. That's a beautiful friction circle, by the way. Very briefly, here's the 0 line. Okay, here is the positive longitudinal G's, just like we just saw. And here's the negative. So just like we just saw right here, that's the 0. Just like we just saw. Come on, baby, it's computing. Come on, baby. Come on. Just like we saw, this was accelerating. Don't be frightened by, let me just put one back on here. Don't be frightened by all those lines. This is above the 0 line, right? For longitudinal G's is accelerating. Remember, this is your feet. Longitudinal is your feet. And below is braking. Ready for this? Ready? 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 Go outside. Here's the Z, excuse me, the 0 line. This is the same thing. This is accelerating, and this is braking, right? And we already know that the cars will brake harder, -1, right here, -1 value. They will brake harder than they accelerate, right? This is only braking, accelerating about what looks like 0.3, 0.25 positive longitudinal G's, right? Longitudinal, negative, positive. Okay? There's a second part to this, and it's the turning part, right? This is when we're turning the wheel. This is when we're driving straight down the straightaway. This little thing right here is where we're on the gas. I'm going to highlight a whole bunch of these to make it really easy to see. Whole bunch of laps. Ready? All right? So here's what this means. This means that this car does about 1.5 or so lateral G's, which is massive. Over here, 1.8. This guy is hoofing. Adam knows how to drive, by the way. He's got some national championships. He's one of the best drivers that I know that are in our region, right? We know that this car accelerates at about 0.25, and we know that it brakes about 0.1, whatever that is, about 0.1175. That's probably 8, 859, 951, 1.2. This is braking at 1.2 G's. So if this is braking down here and this is accelerating up here, we know that when the car goes to brake, at some point it's going to go over here to a lateral G, and then literally this trace is going to go to here, and it's going to go over here. Here are the apexes, give or take, and it's going to go back to throttle, and it's going to go down on the straight. It's probably going to end up right about here. Then it's going to go to brakes, and it might go the other corner and come over here. If this doesn't make sense, it will. This is like 2% of what you need to know. The only thing you really need to know out of this is the outsides, which in this case are about 1.5, and over here, which is 1.8, and the top right here, which is about 0.3, and braking, which is about 1.1. That's all you need to know, the outside of it. Everything else is right here, and we'll do a final recap. We'll pick one lap. We'll try to pick one lap. Pick one lap. Please pick one lap. Please be nice to me. This thing lock up because I'm doing crazy stuff. There we go. Come on. Come on, baby. Of course it's doing that, and I'm like touching it 2 times, right? Come on. I'm not touching it, by the way, guys. Hopefully I'll edit this out and take this little piece out. I'm not touching the keyboard right now, guys. Okay, come on. I'm gonna touch it. Ready? Click. Come on, work for me. All right, something's goofy. I'll edit this out. Yeah, it's being wonky. It's a little rhino. Oh, there we go. So here's track attack. I apologize for that. Thanks for staying with me. Recap. GPS speed trace. Y-axis. X-axis. Start 0 feet. Finish 9,000 and change. Speed trace is 50% of what you're going to do this year. 50%. And if we add one channel, that's the foot channel. What is our feet doing? Right? Gas and brake. This is gas up here, or accelerator, if you like to call it that, or throttle. And this is brake. Right? This is doing neither. Right? So right here, these three, like I said, are about 80%, maybe even 90% of what you need to know. And then we weave in what our hands are doing, which is the steering. Right? And that's lateral. And we know that this is no steering. Right? We know we're steering here. We know that these are on or about apexes, give or take, right? Which are also down here, right? The apexes, because they're minimum speeds. There's one there, right? There's a couple in here, harder to see. Here's this big one that goes onto the front straight, right? This is the big braking zone, right? These things right here when they're decelling, right? Here's another big one right here, decelling. You know, these are the maximum values right here of lateral G's. This one right here, do you see that? Looks like it's almost 1.8. Pretty darn close. Where do you think that is on the track? Where do you think the biggest lateral load is on the track? Give you a hint. If it's right here, and this is the middle of the track, whoopsie, come on, baby. And this is about the middle of the track right here. It's just past the middle, so it's somewhere down in here. And if you answered right there, you'd be correct. For this lap, generated negative 1.75 lateral G's, which is massive. In this case, it was a left-handed turn, right? Probably on some sticker Hoosiers and on a great day, and he's hooked up. So there you go. Those are the big five. These are the big three of the big five, right? Speed, long, lap, track map, and a little bit of friction circle, often called a XY plot or a GG plot. Most people call it friction circle. That's it. That was Grattan on Track Attack. Hope you enjoyed this. Basic beginner data acquisition. If you can understand this, keep working with it and you're ready to go to intermediate. I'm Eric Meyer from Instructor Summit, and we'll talk to you soon.